Last weekend was supposed to be a quiet one. I had just finished a week of long shifts and was looking forward to doing a little yard work, followed by some well-deserved rest. I had parked my old Jeep in the front yard temporarily while I cleaned. Out the garage. The plan was simple, clear. Space in the garage, move the Jeep back inside, and enjoy the evening. But of course, life in an HOA community rarely stays simple, especially when Karen, the self-appointed queen of our neighborhood, gets involved. I noticed her walking toward my house, clipboard in hand, face tight with disapproval. "Can't leave that junk car in your yard," she barked before I could even say hello. I explained calmly that it wasn't junk, just my weekend project, and that it would be moved once the garage was organized. She wasn't interested in explanations. Instead, she demanded I hand over the keys so she could arrange for it. To be towed? I thought she was joking, but she stood there with her hand out like she truly expected me to give her my car. When I refused, she puffed up, dialed her phone, and announced loudly that she was calling the police. Neighbors peeked out of their windows, curious about the commotion. Karen paced on the curb, telling the dispatcher that I was breaking community rules and endangering property values. 10 minutes later, a patrol car pulled up. The officer stepped out, looking more bemused than concerned. Karen rushed over to him, pointing at me and yelling about my Jeep as if it were a crime scene. The officer listened patiently, then turned to me. "Sir, may I ask what's going on?" I explained the situation clearly and showed him the paperwork. For the vehicle registration, insurance, everything in order. What Karen didn't know, and what made the officer raise an eyebrow in recognition, was my own line of work. I pulled out my badge and credentials. I wasn't just a resident. I was a federal agent. The officer's entire demeanor shifted. He chuckled and shook my hand, thanking me for my service. Karen's face drained of color as she realized she had picked the wrong battle. The officer told her plainly, "Ma'am, this is a civil matter, not a criminal one. You can't call us just because you don't like your neighbor's car." Karen sputtered, muttered something about community standards, and stormed off, but not before the officer warned her about misusing emergency services. My neighbors, who had gathered at a safe distance, grinned and gave me a thumbs dash up. The Jeep went back into the garage later that day, just as planned. But the memory of Karen being outranked in her own power play is going to stay parked in my yard forever.